Live screen. We are live. Nice to see you, folks. We are live and in the studio today, and we're bringing another show. We're going to start recording regularly at 4:20 on the Wednesdays. So make sure to tune in every Wednesday, 4:20. We're a little early today, but we'll be going around 4 o'clock, 4:20. We all love that 4:20 number, so we'll be here live for that. But today, I want to introduce somebody. We have a special guest in the lab today, in the podcast center here, and we're going to bring him on screen right now. Let me get this going. And boom, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Howdy. My name is Matt McCabe.
Definitely. So, Matt, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Matt's a marketing expert, so, all you people that need some marketing, make sure to holler at him. What's your website for your marketing services?
My website is mccabe.marketing, and McCabe is with 2 C's. It's a McName.
I love your logo, by the way. Your logo is one of my favorites, so.
But I want companies to make more money, so yeah. I want everything to be money-themed.
Making more money. We all need a little bit more of that in our lives. Here, I'm turning that down, but I want to be able to make sure I can see as many chats as possible. You can view us on a few different channels. Make sure to check out our website, tripsoregon.com. And there's a little link on there for tiny links. You can follow all our channels and everything. And since we did that, we got to, of course, have our dancing mushroom for just a second. Let's give him a few minutes, to get
I like
vibey.
the dancing mushroom.
Yeah. Just to vibe out, enjoy ourselves, get calm, get ready to have this show. Whatever you got going on for the week, take a second to breathe. Be in those moments, whether you're in a good moment or a tough moment. Be in that moment, but don't take it on to the next one, So, boom. All right, thank you, Mushroom Guy. So, Matt, thanks for coming in today.
You're very welcome.
And, Matt has something he wants to share. And so that's why we're in here today. So, Matt, you want to tell people about your experience?
Well, I have a very, very long story. It's both traumatic and physically debilitating and mentally debilitating and spiritually debilitating. And I was kind of at the end of my rope, and I heard about psilocybin therapy, microdosing specifically, as a treatment for depression, because I suffered from some manic depression or some kind of depression, and I didn't know if that was from my emotional trauma or my physical trauma or my spiritual trauma, and I didn't even know if it would help. So which way do you want to go today? Do you want me to talk about my trauma first, or do you want me to talk about my microdosing experience here?
Yeah, let's talk. Let's give them a little bit of your story, because you have overcame so much, and a little of your background too. You just finding us in the first place was a story too, because Matt considers himself a little bit more conservative. Is that correct?
Yes.
So his idea of seeing this triple colored guy over here, doing this hippie thing,
makes me a little bit cautious. Like here's this guy, and the postcard's kind of groovy, kind of hippie, and that makes me want to stay away from the guy a little bit.
Us long-haired hippies, right? I have always been a short-haired person until 2020, and I decided that 2020 I'd cut my hair when I felt the world was stable again. So I'm probably going to be walking on it soon, but that's life.
So he's not the type of person I would have usually connected with. But we were at a business event, and we were being social, and so I gave it a chance, and we started talking, and then I was actually very interested, because I had heard about microdosing LSD, microdosing psilocybin as possible treatment for what I'm going through. And I have been to doctors, and I have been to a neurologist, and I've been through grief therapy, and more to come on that part of the story. And nothing worked. So I was on a roller coaster of I would be up one day and I'd be down the next day, and I'd be up one day and I'd be down the next day. And clinical psychologists would call it rapid cycling manic depression. And then they would say in the next sentence, but it doesn't really exist. And I'm sorry, I've gone through it for a year, so it sucked is what it is. So I tried medicine from a doctor, didn't affect me. I went to a neurologist who said, "You're just getting older." I'm in my 50s now. Well, I'm 50, so I'm not in my 50s yet. I can hold on to my youth a little bit. I'm 50.
You got a year left there. You're not quite there. 50, not 51.
And so the neurology appointment was pretty disheartening when she shrugged and she said, "That's going to happen. It's going to suck. And if it gets to be too bad, go see your doctor for some drugs." And I'm like, I don't want to take any more drugs. Except for previously illegal drugs. Mushrooms are now legal here in Oregon. We're in Oregon. And soon to be legal in a state near you. But I guess are we first?
Yeah, we are the first, and Colorado has legalized, but they are still rolling out their program. So they expect to have service centers in 2025.
So I am conservative and wouldn't normally do this, but I'm also desperate. And I've tried everything and nothing worked. And this actually did. So
yeah, tell us a little bit about, so, you ended up with some medical issues. Could you expand on that a little bit?
So when I was 40 years old, 10 years ago, I suddenly stopped being able to talk and walk, and half my body went numb. And most people would look at it and say it was a stroke, but it wasn't. It was a brain mass. I can't call it a tumor because they don't know whether or not it was cancerous. Your brain stem is at the top of your neck, and it's about the size of your thumb, and it controls all your automatic functions: your sensation, your heartbeat, your breathing, your eyesight, because your eyes have two separate images and they're stitched together in your brainstem. So I had a brain mass, and normally with a brain mass they would do a biopsy to see if it's cancerous or not. But in the case of the brainstem, they wouldn't do it because if they messed up, I'd be a vegetable and I would be suing somebody, or my next of kin would be suing somebody because I would be a vegetable. So they left it alone. They didn't do anything. They gave me some steroids and just hoped that it would do something. If my brain was swelling, then steroids would be a treatment. It would give me all kinds of side effects, but at least I'd still be alive. And then the whatever it was, the brain mass went away. It got to the size of a plum in something the size of your thumb. So it the mass went away miraculously. Call it a miracle, call it a mystery. I like to call it a spiritual miracle from God, although I was an atheist at the time. Anyway, this thing went away, and it left a halo of scar tissue in all the other affected areas around my brainstem, which includes your cerebellum. I think that's the name of that thing back there. So it has left me with uncoordination and some loss of sensation, definite loss of balance. I stagger around like I'm drunk, but I'm not drunk. I live in fear of being pulled over and not being able to pass a field sobriety test. Anyway.
Which, was something that when you were coming out of the service center, you definitely had noticed. You were like, okay, I'm going to exercise, and you're like, oh, well, I have a hard time standing on one foot, and then you're like, wow, I can stand on one foot.
Yeah, so very briefly I noticed some physical changes, and that went away really, really quick. The more important change to me was the mental changes, and that has continued on for a few days afterwards.
Nice. And you were bedridden for how long?
Yeah, I was bedridden for 2 months, and I had to relearn how to do all the simple things: dress myself, brush my teeth, comb my hair, wipe myself in the bathroom, get to the bathroom. Yeah, and all of my muscles atrophied from all that time in the bed, so it had nothing to do with my brain condition. It was just the fact that I was laying in a bed for 2 months, all my muscles atrophied. And then I was in rehab and wheelchair for a month, so I could walk, but they wouldn't let me walk. So I was a wheelchair bound after that. And then in month 4, I went home in a walker.
Okay, yeah. And, one thing you pointed out that I noticed, you were talking about, like, how you had to relearn brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
And as an adult, you were saying that, it's something that we think of so easily, but having to relearn it was such a difficult thing.
So you learn so many things as a kid that you think it's an easy task, like tying your shoes or brushing your teeth or combing your hair or buttoning a button. You learned all those things when you were 2, 3, and so now it seems like child's play, even though they're very, very complicated things. If you think about it, you're using all kinds of different muscles to move your fingers a certain way, and if you can't feel your fingers, you don't have a lot of feedback for buttoning things. So I've learned how to button things and like feel the button going this way and just trust with my other hand that it's going through the right way. And it's actually really complicated, but that's one of the things I had to relearn.
It's too like the that's pointing out like the default mode network and how much that really houses the ability to do things without thinking about it, the ability to drive a car, brush your teeth, so and that's one of the things that is so potential in this study is the ability to kind of evaluate and rewrite neural pathways, finding new neural pathways to accomplish different tasks.
So I've definitely gotten used to doing all that the way I have to do it now. And I'm good with that. It's been 10 years and I walk funny and I can't do certain things, and I'm okay with that. But the mental problems for the last year have been really, really just debilitating. Because I'd be really good one day, I'd be social, I'd have motivation, I'd be a people person. Like today, I'm a people person right now, but then tomorrow or yesterday, and I'm hoping I'm cured, but we'll see. Yesterday, which was a down day, I normally wouldn't be able to do anything except for scroll on my phone. And yesterday I was mildly productive. Not as productive as I would be on a good day, but yesterday I was mildly productive. And I was mildly surprised. And we'll see how long those effects last, hopefully forever. And we'll see tomorrow.
Yeah, it's it's continued practice. And, I do want to point out, too, and I think it's very important, Matt is here on his own free will telling his story. He wants to share this story with everybody. We definitely take a great pride in, making sure our clients are private. I'm probably the head of that one. Because we definitely don't like to opt out for sharing any third-party information to anybody. But I was really moved that he wanted to share this story. And so I was like, yeah, let's get you on here. Your text the other day, too, it's funny because I always talk about, moving from moment to moment and enjoying a particular moment. And I don't think I talked about this with you. But I always use the phrase of like, if you're driving home from work and somebody cuts you off, yeah, you're in that moment. That moment sucks. You're angry. You're upset. That's the moment you're in, right? But then when you walk through the door and you're at home and you're eating pizza with some friends, you want to enjoy that pizza and enjoy that particular moment. And I was really moved because you sent me that message that said, everything's so much brighter and Coke and pizza taste taste amazing.
Yeah, so I kind of had the munchies afterwards, and it was around dinner time, and it's probably that I didn't have lunch, so I was extra hungry. But the cheese pizza tasted extra good, and the Coke was extra refreshing. So
Right.
it was cool to have both of those. That were off within a couple hours, but that was an experience right there. It was like after it was like the first food I'd eaten in a very long time. It was that kind of thing.
Can you talk a little bit about how it kind of onset? We sat down, we had our tea. Can you kind of talk about how it kind of how it worked? We played some fun video games. I was really impressed because you were actually you were very familiar with one of the games we had.
Yeah, it's when I first came out of the hospital and first went home, I didn't have the coordination or the drive to really play video games the way I used to. I could tell that my reaction was a split second off, and if you play a good video game, you know that a split second can mean death or not. And so I could play a game called Feeding Frenzy, where you're a little fish eating other little fish, and you're trying to become a bigger fish and a bigger fish. And that was the first game that I played when I came home from the hospital. And they had a copy of that game here, the sequel of the game, but it plays really the same, Feeding Frenzy 2. And I like that game because it doesn't take a lot of thought. You're just kind of mindlessly swimming around with one joystick and one thumb, and that's about my groove now.
Yeah, and you were we were playing it on the fractal wall. And it was real fun. And so that's when the experience kind of onset.
Yeah, so that took about an hour and a half. I started feeling really loose, really buzzed, like with alcohol, and then all of a sudden it hit me, and I felt very heavy, and I started to hallucinate a little bit. It felt like I was in an enclosed closet or shrine or something because it was lit up like with candlelight. And Willie's voice was off in the distance, and it was a disembodied voice, and he wasn't with me in my cabinet. And then I was able to go on with the rest of my story, the more emotional part of my story. And that all happened after I was out of the hospital. About a year after I was out of the hospital, my wife was not there. My wife at the time was in a mental institution. She had a breakdown, but not really. She had been planning to murder my son, and she had thoroughly researched it on Google, and she'd been planning it for a very long time. And she went to a mental institution so that she could later claim the insanity plea. And then she pretended she was normal to the facilitators at the institution, and they called us and said she's ready to come home. And she came home, and when I was away, the first chance she got, she took my son out onto the bridge at Yakina Bay here in Newport, and threw him over the side, and he drowned. And that trauma is in me, and I was able to talk through that trauma while I was under. Willie guided me through that, thank you. Mm-hmm. And I found myself saying things and saying details that I wouldn't have said, and it's stuff that was buried pretty deep. Willie got the more graphic story than I've probably ever given anyone ever, and it felt liberating to get it off my chest. And yeah,
it was a little freeing for the moment.
It was very freeing,
and we got to he was there with us, and I was very moved by you sharing this with me, and of course I had to close down and go hug my own sons. That's your main message, make sure to hug your children.
Yeah.
And to see your message that end of the day, that you were able to kind of find the moment of clarity. Yeah, please.
And if anyone doesn't believe that someone can go through what I went through, Google me. If you haven't heard of the story, it's real.
Yeah.
I had a medical issue, and then a year later, my son was murdered, and it has a happy ending. I met my now wife on Facebook, but you
Who's
should be
an amazing cook, by the way.
Yeah, she is an amazing cook.
I can't wait to try that tiramisu.
I put on 50 pounds, so yeah, she's a good cook.
Definitely. Yeah. So we had that moment of release and talk, and then when you left, you were having that kind of awakening a little bit there, and
yeah, it was an hour to an hour and a half it took to take effect in the actual session. Willie said 1 to 2 hours, and it actually was like 4 hours. I think that's just because we like talking to each other, and we probably could have ended at 3, and it just went 4 hours. And he looked at his watch and said, "What time do you have to leave?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what time is it?" And it was only 3:45.
Well, see, you told me your woman was Italian, and I was not trying to get murdered.
She's not Italian.
Italian chef there. Yeah.
She's an Italian chef. She's from the Philippines.
But she lived in Italy, so I was a little confused.
Lived in Italy.
Yeah.
Willie didn't want to be swimming with the fishes.
No swimming with the fishes for Willie, So, did not want to be doing that. I appreciate you just taking the moment to express, your experiences in this, because it's these real life stories that you need. I can get on here and tell you all day about my life stories, how it completely changed my life from being this lost kid that ended up turning to crime, got my life straight when I had kids, and then spent the next 20 years figuring it out. But it's when you hear these real stories, and you can see, people from opposite ends. I consider myself, I'm kind of in the middle, but I consider myself a little bit more liberal, and we're able to sit down and have these conversations and talk and communicate, and we're all in the same communities together. And so for you to open and have these conversations and share your story is just a beautiful thing. And I just want to express a very big thank you and gratitude for you sharing your story today.
Yeah.
And I look forward to helping more people find this small balance, and no matter how you do it, disclaimer though, I'm going to say it, make sure if you're looking into microdoses, you're hitting up a licensed psilocybin service center. You can find them on .gov sites. We're all licensed with the state. Don't go down to your local gas station and buy the brightly colored package, because that's probably containing research chemicals and not actually going to assist you, which actually that's a great question. I would love to ask you, if you had you were seeking this alternative health solution, and you took the risk doing it, and considering that is not something you would do. You don't smoke weed, you're not a you don't consume psychedelics at all.
I don't drink alcohol.
And so for you to take this chance, if you had heard of this in other ways and you had found it in another form and it ended up not being an actual psilocybin session, you're not having this, you probably would have tossed it out, right?
I wouldn't have gone down to a gas station and talked to a guy that gives me a thing that might help. So the fact that it was a licensed psilocybin distributor and he knew what he was doing, that gave me peace of mind to actually try it. I'd heard of it, but I wouldn't have gone out of my way to find it without that business meeting where we talked, and this was a legitimate businessman selling a legitimate product. He was licensed, and He knew what he was doing. I would not have taken it.
I love my little community too because, it took a lot of courage for me to go there, because a lot of times we're so, our industry is so looked at so negatively,
Like, even if I had a friend who said this thing might help you take what's in this bag, no. I've met some pretty messed up people, and I don't want to be a messed up person. I've been a messed up person, and I don't want to go back there. So it was the fact that Willie was licensed and experienced, and I took what he thought was a small dose. I am inexperienced, and an experienced person would take about 10 milligrams per microdose, and an inexperienced person like myself took 5. And in retrospect, I might have even taken less, because it's not about the high for me; it's about the effects that I experience afterwards.
Yeah. It's and that community meeting was such a wonderful thing because it's like I said, I was going in and I was a little concerned about going in that maybe these people wouldn't appreciate what I do. And we just went in, and it was so great because even I ran across somebody I kind of wanted to work with, and I was talking with them, and they were like, yeah, we can't really do anything because we do a lot of stuff with kids. And I'm like, I can understand that, but they impressed me because they were a little bit older and seemed very conservative, and they just kind of leaned in and go, but I'll be calling you. And I was like, I think I found my tribe.
It took a lot of guts for Willie to come in there and say, hey, I do psilocybin. That's magic mushrooms. They're legal. Yeah.
Yeah. And you should see their eyes. Like, you do what?
So, yeah, that took a lot of guts on his part, but I'm glad he did it.
Oh, and today's was the best, man. They had us feeding good. It was good. That's great. Anything you would like to share that might prepare people for their journey? Or,
that it's a legitimate medical experience. It helped me with my depression. It might help you with your depression. It's worth at least trying, because it's either going to be profound or it's not going to be anything. You'll know right away.
Yeah.
And mine was profound. It was both a therapy session and a medical intervention.
Yeah.
It's something that I could not find from the medical realm. They just wanted to give me some pills that ultimately didn't work, and this worked that day. So if I had known about this a year ago, I would have tried this a year ago. It would have saved me a year of misery, because it has been misery. So it's got my vote as a conservative, not drug user.
Yeah. So we appreciate you, having the courage to tell this story, to let more people know. And, I say this, too, to a lot of my friends, because I have a lot of friends that are like, man, what are you talking about, Willie? I got a pound of mushrooms and a sheet of acid on me, O-ball of Molly in my pocket. Like, what possibly could I have? But, going through these guided sessions, and the reason these guided sessions work so great, I think, is a couple reasons. In my experience so far, it's the fact that somebody's going to take care of you. So you're able to really, truly let go of things for a moment. And really, when you can let things go, you can really allow yourself to flow into that journey of the psilocybin session.
And that was really important. I mean, the fact that there was someone guiding you along the way, and someone who is understanding and listening to you. I was saying graphic things, stream of consciousness, as I thought of them, and there was no judgment. He understood, he listened, and it was cathartic and freeing. And it was very profound. So if it was an emotional trauma that I was having to overcome, that did it. And if it was physical, mental, that did it. Like, I don't know what it was, but that did it. And if it ever came back, I would do it again.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah, and that's what it is, And during the guided session too, we take a great practice in making sure to kind of, guide you through the session and kind of also push you a little bit through the session as well, and so we definitely check on our clients often during the session too, which then opens up opportunity for exploration, and for seeing things from a different perspective, and kind of experiencing things from a different thought process. There's a wonderful study next week's show. We're going to pull that study up and we're going to actually go through it, because Washington University State just put out a study that backs up Braun Carhart Harris's study on what's going on in our brains psychedelically under the psychedelic experience. And and it's studying furthermore the real things that are happening in our brains and how we're perceiving them, and to study that this is not just something we're kind of placebo affecting. It's there's something profound happening here during these sessions. I mean, it took me 10 years, and for 10 years I was trying to hurt myself. For 5 years of that, I was trying to hurt myself. I was trying to alter myself, hurt myself, and instead I started to slowly unravel myself and started to unravel the things that were causing me to be such trouble in the world, to being such an angry person, an upset person. You meet people now and they'll tell you I'm usually a glass half full, but back then I was not that way. And it was through these journeys that I started to have these experiences, and then it became 5 years of having experiences specifically for healing, and specifically for working on the things that come up. And the thing too, when things come up, it's like what was that thing they used to have at Outback? What was that thing called? The bloomin' onion.
With layers.
Yeah, it's like the bloomin' onion. Okay, you got the you unravel the first layer and you're like, okay, yeah, this is the reason why, and then like slowly other layers have to get unraveled.
It's like the donkey in Shrek. I'm a parfait. I have layers.
Yes. So that's the experience too. It's a constant journey, of finding that balance and balancing our lives with our daily lives and balancing our moment, from one moment to the next. And so finding that space to do so is important. Finding people to do that with is important. So making sure that setting is right, making sure the space is right, making sure you have intentions when you move in. I don't think your intentions when you got here was to explore any of that. I think your intentions were just to experience it, to just try it.
I wanted to see if it worked, and I was very skeptical. Mm-hmm. I was prepared to have a toss-off experience that, okay, I did that, but I wasn't expecting to be cured of anything. I wasn't expecting to have this therapy session where I spill my guts. I wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah, and we just started playing video games. We were laughing more about video games.
Yeah, I was having fun playing games for the first hour.
Yeah, we were a couple old guys going, remember the PlayStation?
PlayStation 1. Yeah. The original.
Remember Metroid? Yeah.
Metroid. Nintendo 64. We had some deep conversations, and I don't think that was altered. I think that was just two old guys talking about video games.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get me started about Ark. He heard about Ark, and he's like, "Oh, so you were a video game terrorist?"
Yeah, he was a video game terrorist.
If you guys have played Ark, you would understand. Okay, so yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I lived in the world before video game terrorism. So I was a 2D Mario, and he did no terrorism unless you feel for the mushrooms and the turtles.
I don't know, man. He was squashing them Goombas.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just thought of something because we made that joke earlier. I just made that connection.
What?
Goombas.
Oh, Goombas and Italians. Yeah, that's a.
Isn't that a derogatory term in Italy?
I don't know if it's derogatory or
Oh,
not.
okay.
Yeah, that's a very meta comment. We were talking about Italians and Goombas.
Yeah. So, and when you were, and I love to share as the facilitator for the facilitators that are listening too. It was that. Okay, so I'm a sales guy, right? That was the thing I first did. I've done it for years. Some of you guys that have probably tuned in or know me through sales. And so, being a sales guy, you talk a lot. I'm good at that. I mean, a lot of you guys know me because you walked by my booth and I didn't shut up. So, during this practice and after school, it was finding how to have those moments of, silence for introspection, and how to really manage that time out, to extend out. So, because sometimes that could be an hour, 2 hours,
Willie is both a good talker and a good listener.
So, yeah, and that's what it was. It was finding that balance between the two, and then knowing when to kind of engage and the when to just listen. And
when the experience was happening, I wouldn't know if he was talking or listening. I was talking.
Yeah.
I was just I was just getting it all out. And
Yeah.
he may or may not have been listening, but I got a lot out.
Well, yeah, and that's you were expressing yourself, and you're very kind of somber. You were very sitting on the edge of the chair there, and your eyes were closed, and you were just expressing and letting it flow out of you. And he didn't know it, but I was over in the chair just crying. So
I could hear it, but I wasn't really aware of it.
I was feeling the pain there, but it was such a moving story, and then to see those text messages and the messages you sent me afterwards, it was a very because I knew. Microdosing for most of us, we consider that 2 milligram, but a lot of people don't understand that here in this state we're testing psilocybin by the analyte. So my scientist friends can jump on this better, because I'm trying to figure this out myself, because to me, I know about isolates because I sold a lot of CBD isolates. That's where you isolate that particular compound, right? But when it comes to an analyte, I believe an analyte is that compound within a organic material, and so all our mushrooms are measured by the analyte. So it's 5 milligrams analyte, 2 milligrams analyte.
So a lot of the analyte is not the psilocybin. The psilocybin is riding on the analyte?
Nah, the psilocybin is still 2 milligrams of analyte, but it also has an entourage effect with the natural psilocybin. So there's other tryptamines, glutabatins, I believe is the word. There's some other, things that go on it. When it comes to cannabis, a lot of people thought that THC was just a specific thing, but there's other compounds like THC, CBD, CBDN, CBDG, and then there's a string of things called terpenes, and that's a lot of smells and flavors, and all plants have these things. And I was a dab guy for 5 years. I did nothing but dabs. Highest grade, 98% THCs, but it wasn't, I found myself not enjoying it and not getting the benefits. And it wasn't until I started smoking good cannabis again, I was like, wow, like good cannabis was putting me way over things. But what I'm trying to point out is the, natural psilocybin that's inside of the mushroom is creating that entourage effect. So a lot of studies are done with psilocybin isolated, but inside of our program we have psilocybin on an analyte. So it comes as a natural form. And so there's there's chitin in there, which kind of causes a little bit of stomach issues for some people, but not everyone. And then there's a barrage of other compounds that make up the mushroom. And so you're having that experience. And when it comes to microdosing, we used to think of it more like zero point 0.2 grams was a microdose. But the analyte you had was the equivalent of about a gram. So 5 milligrams of analyte on that particular cultivar, or strain if you prefer, was only about a gram, which was 5 grams of analyte. So that was your first experience, was about a gram.
So it goes down to 0.2. You can get 0.2.
Yep, 0.2 is our smallest dose that we do. So, and that one you definitely should be subperceptual. I thought you were going to be subperceptual with that 5 milligrams. So,
I thought I was until I wasn't.
Right. And of course we have a really trippy room, which I'm really glad that you actually left it on. I was expecting you to be like, no, I want the room to be just white and plain, but you were happy with what color did we choose? Blue. Yep. And then the universe wall, we have a fractal wall, which is real fun to stare at.
It's cool and trippy.
Yeah. And the reason I do this, a lot of people too, we have a lot of fellow facilitators who just believe in the eye mask. And I like using colors and lights because sometimes it helps kind of jar memories. And, I've had quite a few clients see a particular color, and then that particular color kind of helps them have the memories, have the reconnections, and see things from different perspectives. And so, and then like our tapestries are removable if you're something you don't want. But a lot of people, they'll come up and we have an Alice in Wonderland tapestry in there that's all blacklight looking. A lot of people have an experience where they're seeing that and it's jarring up something. They're remembering their grandmothers or, something like that. And I find it very beneficial, when I went to school and they were like, so a psilocybin session looks like a medical bed with 2 people with a clipboard. I was like, yeah, no, that's not our service center. So there's plenty of service centers if you're looking for that. But once again, we could also turn up and make ours look like that if that's what you prefer.
I didn't know that going in, so yeah. Willie was asking me what I wanted, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What do I have to choose from, and for why?
Yeah.
And you don't know that the first time, so it's like you need a default setting for everything. Like I don't care, pick a color. I don't care, tapestries up. I don't care, comfortable couch. Yeah. I don't care, tea. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and then we had the what do we have? Mint tea.
Mint tea, yeah.
Peppermint tea, yes.
So you pick a choice of tea, and you asked if I wanted to brew a tea. What were my other options besides tea?
Eating it straight and raw.
Does anyone snort it?
No.
Because it's like a powder. Like, how else are you supposed to take it besides tea?
Do not snort your mushrooms.
That's a little PSA. Don't snort mushrooms.
If you snort your mushrooms, you have a problem. Okay.
So what were my other options besides tea?
A lot of times it's tea or mixing it with water or a little bit of orange juice. For the powders, we call that homogenized blends. But then we also do more premium mushrooms, and those come in the mushroom, like the dried mushroom.
So can you make a paste of it and just rub it on your teeth?
Yep, and most people just eat that raw. It gets in your stomach.
What's it taste like? That sounds gross.
I love this. Okay, so I'm going to say this. So there's 2 things when I was in the 20 years ago. There was 2 things I thought that was always inherently true about mushrooms, and I'll tell you what those 2 things are. That they taste like shit, and that I would be stuck on the couch. Like when I used to eat mushrooms, I was on the floor. I was just spinning in circles. I couldn't get up. I was stuck. It was like I was paralyzed. Now, fast forward, in the Oregon program, there's 2 things that they won't allow us to do. They won't allow us to grow on manure. So it's really surprising because when you don't grow mushrooms on shit, well, guess what? They don't taste like shit.
What does it taste like?
And it has more of just a mushroom earthy flavor.
Okay. Some umami.
Yeah. And then the second part was if you grow on wood, you will get something called wood lover's paralysis. It's a temporary effect, but during the psychedelic experience, you can hardly move. And if you don't grow on wood, that's another thing. So
that sounds unpleasant.
We can't have manure-grown mushrooms or wood-grown. So we use CVG, which is a cocoa core, vermiculite, gypsum, and here on the coast we use a little bit of seashell blend. Which grows beautiful mushrooms, and then it provides a very clean mushroom that doesn't have that rough taste, doesn't cause you to be locked into your couch, and it provides a much funner experience.
Even though I was kind of locked into a couch.
yeah. You still get locked in, but you're not like paralysis.
But you can leave anytime you want.
yeah. Let's see if anybody has any questions on the feed. Throw them in to any of the chats you're on, and hopefully we can see them. I think we do have Twitter and Instagram up now, but I'm not sure if their feeds are coming through our main feed channel. So if you are watching us on Twitter or Instagram, make sure to type a little message, just see if it pops up. Anything else you want to add to the conversation before we call it quits today?
We're working on some frequently asked questions to get some of the answers for all the newbies out there.
Yeah.
But try it. What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work. That's the worst that could happen.
That's what Timothy Leary says. He says, the worst thing that could come out of this experience is only going to be 8 hours at the max dose, and the worst that could happen at the end of the experience is nothing. Yeah. You are not changed.
Which is what I was expecting. I was expecting nothing. And I got instant something. So whether it was cathartic or whether it was a change in my brain, I have no idea. But it was a night and day. I felt better the next day.
Yeah. So check it out. Let's see, before we go, we'll throw up that website one more time. Bam. And we'll throw up some music.
And the dancing mushroom. Nice.
Bam! He's on your side today, so we're going to vibe out with that dancing mushroom for a minute. And just give a big thank you. And thank you for on that journey. That was my first microdose. Most of my clients come for heavy doses, so it was amazing to have a microdose session do so much. I never expected that, so I've been very moved and touched by that. I look forward to more of these conversations. So big thank you, Matt. I appreciate you. And let's see here, we're gonna go ahead and get that off there. Boom. And so make sure to check us out. We're going to be coming at you guys live at 4:20 every Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. Make sure to put it on your calendars.
And I think I'll be coming back because I'm a believer now.
Yes. We're going to definitely have you on here. And make sure to give us a like and a follow. Follow us at tripsoregon.com. Hit the little tiny link. If you can, buy some merchandise, donate on PayPal, help us reach more people, and, let more people know about these experiences. So there are now over 25 service centers here in Oregon, so you're going to be able to find a service center that's going to fit your liking. And we really appreciate you taking the time to tune in today.
And we're in Newport, Oregon, so come check us out.
Newport, Oregon, where it's so beautiful. We got crabs here, but we got the good kind. Oh my gosh, and the shrimp. We had shrimp today on the barbecue. Woo! Yeah. Oh, Lordy, it was a bomb. So
made me want to buy a barbecue. It was really good.
Yes. So, make sure to check us out. Newport's a wonderful place to visit for your services. And give us a like or follow. And, support the movement any way you can. And we appreciate you tuning in. Y'all have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys later.
Peace.